All right, we're live on Facebook. We're just waiting on YouTube. Okay, there we go. Good deal. All right, how's it going, everybody? We had a little bit of a tech issue this morning, so sorry about the delay. Let me just get everything set up. We've got a new friend coming on. Let me just say, too, that if these shows resonate with you, please share. We're getting more pressure from the algorithms not being notifications aren't going out, and we've had some tech issues this morning, which usually means we're going to have a great show. But if you could share to your page or to a group, that would be a big help, as we're getting suppressed a little more than we have been for the last couple of weeks. So let me bring our new friend up here, Michelle Howe. Okay, I think I got that right. I had her bio pulled up, but because of what, hang on, let me see. Hang on. Yeah, Michelle J. Howe. And we're just going to have to wing it. Let's see. Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Awesome. How are you?
Sorry about the tech issues. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I don't know what was going on with them. They wouldn't let us on. So, but I had your bio pulled up, and I know you're a speaker. You're, I believe, what was stated was, and I don't always read the bios very often, but if somebody's new, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'm going to pull it up on my phone. So you're the founder and president of Empath Evolution. You serve as an awakening speaker, evolutionary guide, and a master healer. And you're a perpetual student of life, holding many healing certifications and graduating from the Orin and Dobbin Awakening Light Body program. That sounds interesting. And Michelle awakens and guides heart-centered individuals, teams, and organizations on the path to whatever the last word was. Sorry about that. So good to see you. Syracuse, New York. I think I saw that on there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting because we have the next guest we have on in a couple hours is from Syracuse.
Yes, I know her.
Oh, you know her. I was going to ask you that. I was wondering.
Small world.
Oh, wow. Yeah. How cool is that? You can't make this stuff up. So, yeah, you looks like you've been doing what you're doing for quite some time. And by the way, welcome to the show, and thank you for honoring us with your presence today. And yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you. So how long have you been in the game? How long have you been doing the things that you're doing?
Well, doing the things I'm doing, 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did not know any of this really existed. I was always introspective and spiritual, more inquisitive and personal development type of an inquisitiveness. And always a desire to understand why I was moody and how I could be a better person. and what made other people tick. Always like,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I didn't go into psychology. I went into very black and white accounting, business management, very much
Mm.
bring me there until I realized that the people, I was more interested in the person behind what was talking, rather than the situation. Like I could help people develop their business, look at their marketing plan, look at their numbers. I could do all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was more about what does this person need right
That's
now?
interesting.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. I did some business consulting for 3 or 4 years after I kind of stepped away from the corporate world. So I can relate to what you're saying about assessing things, reading things, forecasting, but I never dawned on me to look behind the person I was talking to. So that's interesting. Did you have something that led up to that? I mean, you were in that field, and did you have like a wake up experience?
Of course. Do you want to know about my wake up experience?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely we do. There's a lot of people waking up now, and probably when you did it,
yeah.
there wasn't as much support, but when they hear the stories, I think it offers them a lot. Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Well, and the thing is, awakening, um, sometimes people say it's remembering, recognizing. It's just there's a timing to it where you go to a point where you are humbled,
Mm.
you are paying attention, you are somewhat struggling. And um, so all the rules, all the things that you thought you knew
Yes.
kind of go out the window because your life is shocking you, your experience is shocking you, you're looking for solutions. So I went through, I was always introspective, I was always a knower, a seeker, I would say always that way.
Yeah.
um, but also very logical. So my solutions were always very logically oriented. If I exercise, if I take this magnesium, if I, just keep my life within these parameters, I will be all right. Like I will not, so, but along the way, things hit you upside the head, whether it's relationships with people or just dynamics. You're not supposed to go in this direction. This organization didn't work out for you. Drama, chaos. So there is, it's not like my life was always easy because I had an eating disorder when I was younger. I
Mm.
experienced a lot of different things, but I found my way through them, as I would say, my journey. And it wasn't till I was close to 40, a couple different things happened with relationships.
Mm.
And when relationships come to an end, you question, the upheavals of, a child that needs tutoring, and how do I, help my child. All of these are different examples of what led up to all of a sudden me experiencing life a little bit differently. Like my highs were really high. So there was a couple that came into our world, and our life became a little bit different. I became more like I was feeling so much, and it
Mm.
was such a high that I questioned what the heck was going on. Like I couldn't sideline this, I couldn't avoid this. So it's like, it's almost like your life goes on autopilot, and all of a sudden all these things start happening and you're having the time of your life. But then on the back end, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, how am I feeling? Why is this happening? And I always prided myself on having some control of my life. Like,
Mm.
I kind of can see why this is happening, who this person is. I can see beyond the masks that they put in front of me. So I
Right.
could sense something, but I didn't know what it was. And my desire always has been, people have always just shared their stories with me. If I see where they're hurting or whatnot, I'm able to kind of take the energy of what's happening and reframe it and alleviate what's happening. And I never thought much of it. I just did it because it was easy to do. It was easy to do. And I all of a sudden started such a connection. It was such a strong connection that it was scary. It was
Yeah.
scary to me to have somebody that connected because it threatened my life. Like,
Wow.
it threatened the normal status quo. And rightfully so, because there are layers to people.
Mm.
And there were narcissistic tendencies in the background. I could see the landmines,
Mm.
but I was so drawn to it. So drawn. There was something that magnetically brought me there. And I, at one point, was so humbled that I'm like, what is going on? My life is going to go down the tubes if I don't take some control over what's happening. So, interestingly enough, I said, what's going on? Where is Michelle? Because usually Michelle would keep me very safe. And I couldn't, I tried this reasoning. It's so funny the way we play games with ourselves. I've got this under control. I know what's going on. I'm just going to get a little bit of this. And I know, how to keep myself safe, to the point of things just very quickly spiraled out of control. And I did what I know how to do. I saved myself, which meant, you know what? You're out the door. You guys are all out the door. And I don't care who's wrong or right, but this is stopping. The door's closing. I'm running this way.
Wow. So
So
you had a couple, is that what you said? A couple came
it
into
was a
your,
couple.
so a couple comes into your space and you're going into high empath mode and your soul's nudging you, and Michelle that you knew is like standing there watching everything, it sounds like, until it gets to a point where you chose yourself.
I chose to preserve the life that I had,
Yeah.
because this
Yeah.
was way too insane. So it
Yeah.
felt like a roller coaster ride, is what it felt
Yeah.
like. And the highs were great, but the lows were not so great.
Yeah.
So if
Good
you,
good teachers, good
oh
triggerers.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
past life activating going on. If people know
Yeah.
about that, it just was so familiar to me, and there was such a draw to it. But the more reasonable, practical side of me is like, oh my God, stop this.
Mm.
Like, stop this now. And
Yeah.
in the process of stopping what was happening, I mean, I didn't really know. It's almost like I created a train crash. I
Yeah.
crashed a train. And in the process of doing that, I ended up in a very deep depression,
Mm.
because how do you save yourself and hurt yourself at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, I was here, I go this way, go this way, go this way. It feels so right. And then I'm like, no.
No, I totally get what you're saying. It's
Yeah.
funny because I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about when I first woke up. So there was more than, say, there was more than a couple, right? But what I was reflecting on was the extremity of the divine, what I would call divine episodes, or
Mm,
psychic phenomena, or
right.
past life recognition, or these things that were happening within myself and these people, these, say, 4 or 5 players. And what I was reflecting on, this is exactly what you're saying. So I was going, oh, you were like, were they like, were they you? Were they, they were obviously, you know, uh, providing code or something, triggering in some way, and I was kind of along. And then I thought on the other end of the spectrum, and I thought, but as a human, you were like off planet, dude. You were like, you were in trouble, So I get what you're saying. It's like there's this parallel of this new presence, okay, that's always kind of been there, and then there's the human who's always, like you said, been in control, been able to keep the navigation of the vehicle, within the lines, and then all of a sudden it goes off the rails. But at the same time, you're having this kind of innate remembrance going on with, with the accompanying divine
I
experiences or
like I
psychic
like the
experience.
way you're putting it,
Mm.
because in essence, I never felt that level of passion for life. It was that deep of a connection. So it wasn't nothing, it was something.
Yeah.
But when we play with something and we don't understand it, and it threatens the status quo and other people are involved, you have to take a stand for something. And it was a hard position. It's like here, I'm giving you this sweet, beautiful candy and you're saying no to it,
Yeah.
because there's a, not just a fear, but it's a responsibility. It wasn't my path to go there. The whole thing, mind you, it took me years. I call it an awakening experience, to unravel what this actually was for me, because beyond the confusion and beyond taking action that I thought was necessary, I was hurt. I was feeling so much pain.
Mm.
And it wasn't the pain of what I would understand. It was a culmination of a lot of things that I had to learn. It's almost like, to settle, to awaken me, something had to hit me that hard in
Yeah.
order for me to pay attention. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't about to embark and change my life unless it was that strong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it worked. It worked.
Yeah, that sounds familiar
Yeah.
to a lot of the people that come on the show. Have the same type of story energetically. It's, some people say it's a cosmic 2x4. I think it's more like a
Yeah.
cosmic 2x12, because it's a lot bigger than a 2x4. But
It's,
the, and then, so like so you're, you've aligned with like this super empath thing. You're getting this
yeah.
wake up thing. And, for a lot of people, and you've already kind of dipped into it a little bit, but they start to look at themselves. They start to say, okay, I've got to clean up my house, or I've got to do something, and basically go into a mode of for lack of a better word, healing themselves, or discovering traumas, or integrating traumas, or whatever it is that needs to be addressed, and they start to correct their path. Is this what happened to you? Is this what led into you becoming a practitioner?
Um, you know what? It wasn't so much at the time. I wasn't thinking healing. I
Mm-hmm.
was just feeling so discombobulated and resentful and angry and confused and self-deprecating, because at the age of 40 you think you have everything figured out by then, right?
Mm.
Like, you shouldn't really have to go through anything like that. But as I stepped into it, I found that I needed answers.
Yeah.
And I looked for answers in traditional psychology. I looked, and I would go there and I'm like, no, I can psychoanalyze you in 2 seconds. This is not, and the answers you're giving me don't make any sense. When I went into the metaphysical world, now those answers, they made sense. And the
Mm.
more I found out, the more I wanted to know. And the more I was like, I am going to fix this. Like, if it's the last thing that I do, I'm going to fix this. So I kept reading and reading and turning over stuff. And at one point I was like, I had a psychic reading and the lady goes, you can't hide your light. Stop doing that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. I just want you to help me feel better. I don't understand what's going on. And I had other people, oh, this needed to be played out. Oh, this has been coming for lifetimes. I'm like, all right, well, and then I had one that gave me such a story behind everything. And it was so vivid to me that whatever that was she said, I was just like, oh my God, you just took a brick and you threw it at my heart. And it all felt so right. It was like a replay of a dynamic that had happened before.
Yeah.
And I needed to go, in order for you to ever bring up emotions or to heal something, it needs to be so strong that you can't avoid it. Like,
Yeah.
you are getting thrown in the pool. You're in the pool. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And then I'm the curious kind. I'm like, okay, I've always been this way, whether it's whatever, astrology, astronomy, facial reading, palmistry. I've got like a whole tool chest of things that to me were just fun and intriguing. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this healing session and I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, and through this whole awakening, before I even crashed the train, I was hearing energies running through my ears. And I'd be with my husband. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm like, my ears are throbbing they're like pulse, 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 pulse. And I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, turn the TV down. Let me see if I still hear this. Like, and I would hear it. So it was my energy body activating and my psychic senses really amping up. But I had never heard of anything like that. And I, at the same time, telepathy was very handy. I mean, I was communicating and I was reading thoughts and I didn't know that's what I was doing because I had always sort of done that to begin with. But now everything amped up a lot more. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to like get back out of this roller coaster because this is too much. This is too much. I don't understand what this is.
So this started about 5 years ago. Is that what you were saying?
No. 10,
Longer.
12 years ago.
12 years ago. Okay. And so, not to mention you're going through it with a partner who I assume wasn't going through the same thing you were, especially when there's a feminine and a masculine. She's usually going first anyway. But so what? Just for the people that might have the interest that are just waking up, that are trying to figure stuff out. Obviously, there's more of a support system in the community now. But were there certain books that helped you that really kind of?
There are lots of books out there. And to be honest with you, there's one that is my favorite. The more I've advanced on this path, the more I get when I read these books. So there's like a maturity that comes when you're reading them. And I also started to recognize that I can tune into the energy of the writing and the author. I mean, we can tune into a lot of things when you're very empathic. And it's just a matter of choice and awareness over where you're putting your attention and what's happening, because it is a journey. It doesn't end. It hasn't ended for me still. The Power of Personal Awareness by Sanaya Roman is by far my favorite book.
Wow.
And it's really it spoke to my soul as I was reading. I'm like, yep, absolutely. Like all the things I knew, but she was putting them in writing and in a way that it validated, it acknowledged the fact that we are dealing with subtle energy every day. We're sending broadcasts out to one another, and we are living within a belief system that may or may not help us. It may keep us in a box, keep us wrong, keep us ashamed. And of course, there's more to that, but it's recognizing that you are powerful.
And keeping us self-righteous, keeping us, no, that's a great point. I think that our belief systems are really being put under a microscope now. I think this collective energy is supporting by force or flow our expansion. But it's these belief systems I used a word a minute ago about describing the book, the subtle energies. Like they're so subtle. I'm watching people with these narratives out there right now in the community, almost over identifying with one end or the other of the polarities. And I think where we really get stuck, and I think a big challenge, and I always put myself first, is kind of like, why do I have to be right? You know what I mean? I mean, like, how many times in what you just described in that period of time were you proven wrong? Were your belief systems taken away from you? And I think that's what you described so well. Just like everything gets just taken away, everything crumbles, the train goes off the track. But these belief systems run really deep. They really do, especially now with everything moving so quickly.
Well, and the other part of this is that through this awakening, I always saw what was outside of me being the cause of this.
Yes.
I could see the darkness, the negativity, the heaviness, the wounds outside of me. And for whatever reason at the time, I could be blaming this is happening to me because of this person or this dynamic, and they said this and then they did that, and then so you're trying to create a story around it where in truth it's really a mirroring. if you look at the soul, we're supposed to be pure, loving, joyful. We get entangled with a 3D life, judgment, heaviness, sadness, despair, grief, whatever it is, right? We're living these dynamics with people, and we're actually judging. You know, we're so used to looking out, we're looking at other people and we can see their stuff, right? Or we think we see their stuff. It's our lens.
Yeah.
So it's never, we're not going, okay, what's up with me? Okay, what's up with me? Okay, what's up with me? It's always about getting outside validation, doing what pleases, you know, form fitting your life to what's expected of you, to what's, when you start changing that dynamic, and now you're like, do I really believe that? You know, what did this relationship teach me? What did this experience teach me? Why am I so angry? Because blah 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 blah. There's a whole story, right? And I would be like, I found lots of mentors found me at that point, thank God. And they stayed with me as I worked through. So you can't underestimate the power of entanglement and activating, and you know, when you energetically are that connected to another person, separating is like almost like trying to stop drinking if you have a drinking problem. It's the same thing because you're so used to
Yeah.
being entangled with that. They become, you almost become so connected
Yeah. Like
that
a
to
co
sever that, like a codependency
Yeah,
kind of
it's
a
a
thing.
codependent
Yeah.
frequency. Yeah. That, I think that's what we were bathing in, living in, was a codependent frequency overall. I mean, you know, I know there were people that were doing things before this became, you know, it's not quite mainstream yet, but we're going to make it mainstream. But yeah, I love what you said about and I guess, you know, in working with people, you must come across this a lot. And I think one of the big challenges, regardless of at what point you are on the path, you know, because it is a spectrum and I don't think there's a higher or lower. But what I'm trying to say is that taking the responsibility for everything. And, you know, because of the whole codependent frequency and the victim, victimizer, narcissist, empath, you know,
Right.
all the different things that are played out, that's not an easy thing to do, you know, and especially now as we're having more and more disclosure collectively, which has got to be a mirror of what's happened to each of us individually,
Good, good.
where you see these from a human perspective only, without our multidimensional higher selves looking at it. When you look at these atrocious, horrific things that are being disclosed, how do you get somebody to a point of understanding that it's all them and it's never anything external?
Hmm. How do you get people to a point where it's all them and nothing external?
Hmm.
Well, the way that I would look at it is to have people step back and not identify, not make things so personal.
Hmm.
You're watching an exchange, an interaction, a development. You're watching the world out there come to terms with darkness that's
Hmm.
surfacing, heaviness that's surfacing, selfishness that is self-evident by people's action. But also, I think the media and a lot of us fail to see the good that's actually here. So a lot of this is, you know, the attraction, subtle energy attraction. The more you pay attention to what's heavy and the more you feel what's heavy and the more you embody the heavy, the more you're going to notice the heavy.
Yeah.
So as you shift and change and bring more positive, like that's what these 10, 12, 13 years of mine have been about, is embodying a new way of processing my life that uplifts people without me being responsible to go fix X, Y, and Z, because you can't. At the time, and this will give you a good idea, at the time, of course, this couple was wounded in their way. Everybody is in their way, right? But as the empath, I was tuning in, I was serving to feed in some way and uplift their life, right? And then what happened was it got channeled many different ways to me. You're just putting duct tape, you know, you're kind of fixing this, but that's not your job.
Right.
This isn't, there are too many holes in this for you to quote unquote fix. And technically it's not my job to fix it, right? But when you have something front and center and you know somebody is in pain, what's your natural inclination? You want to be helpful.
Yeah.
You want to, but if you don't understand the energetic part of it, you can get entangled in it. And then you end up with a problem on your hand because you got dragged into something you didn't know that was even a thing. So that's why, for an empath, for someone who is sensitive, strengthening their energy field is the most important thing. And they have to know who they are to do that. And it's not done in collaboration with 50 other people in the room. It's done with you taking the time and the priority to learn something that is outside the box and to fill in the spots of you that are missing. Because along the way, we're giving parts of ourselves away. We're taking on wounds of other people. So it's like really quite a different experience when you get to that point.
Yeah.
You're ready.
Yeah, it's like that that meme that goes out quite often is observe, don't absorb. So I could imagine, I mean, my wife's a practitioner, I'm not, but you're right. We want to serve, we want to help, and if you're a super empath, you feel it deep, but you and others have actually are kind of creating a template of being able to use that empath power as a strength, uh, assist people, and not take it home with you. You know what I mean?
Hopefully, hopefully, right? That's the end goal, is to help it. But the unfortunate part is that most of us awaken because of pain, because we're uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I mean, and then back to the strengthening your field.
yeah.
I mean, in a general overview kind of statement, I mean, what does that mean? How do you strengthen your field when you get right down to the nuts and bolts of it?
The nuts and the bolts, it's a spiritual connection that you develop, and you clear energy from you daily, and you strengthen, like it's part of it is knowing who you are, but the subtleness of who you are, it's being able to, I feel a lot of us empaths are actually mystics. We have the capacity to do that, and we have the capacity to hold space. Most of our higher chakras are open compared to other people who only have maybe the first 3 or 4 open. So it's like, for me, it's been one of, let me learn as much as I can, let me analyze as much as I can, let me let go and release of the negativity, and stay with it with the seriousness of what this is, and to keep learning. So it's really about finding tools along the way that strengthen your capacity to feel good in your body.
Yeah.
And it's an introspective thing. You're not gauging your happiness based on outside elements. If I feel overwhelmed or exhausted, or the energies of this time, I know how to clear it.
That's where I was going to go with it. So, well, and that's another way to say it too, because especially with practitioners, because of what they do, the nature of what they do. And a lot of people might look at him and say, oh, well, she wrote a book and she's been doing this and she knows, and her life is just as smooth as glass. What do you do when you get triggered now? How do you handle, when you're thrown off balance?
Well, first of all, I know enough that when I'm triggered, I'm not centered. Like, it's like there's a me that's scattered and crazed, and then there's a me that can settle in and be grounded and feel good about her life without anything else going on. So I know that it's like a vibrational thing. When I'm off kilter and freaking out or upset, or somebody triggered me, I am not grounded enough.
Right.
In my body. I'm not taking life at my, like, it's people talk about shields and whatnot, and I agree in part, yeah. But the biggest shield you can have is to have a loving, perfectly relatable, relaxed approach to life, where you're not judging things, things aren't coming in to upset you. So in order to get to that point, you have to be a very proactive proponent of healing what's within you, releasing what is within you, because energy is magnetic. It's going to come in and it's going to feel, so if you have higher frequencies running through you and you've got anything that's a little heavier, it will make you quite uncomfortable. So you're getting, it's almost like you're getting pushed along the way to become a more spiritual person.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up.
Yeah.
And so what about this year? This year, you've been doing this quite some time, so you should have a pretty good perspective. This year's been pretty unique, to say the least. Yeah. Not to, I'm not just talking about what's going on, the common denominators around the world. Let's just put it that way. The whatever you want to call all that. I'm talking about the personal growth, the expansion of consciousness, the accelerating energies, the volume of energies coming in, the sequence or cycle of energy comes in, be it a trigger, be it solar, whatever, Schumann resonance, whatever these things are. Like you said, it's all energy, and it coming in, and it looks like people, at least in the community, people that I talk to are not always in the best level of comfort, but the energy is coming in, it's being processed quickly, it's being integrated quickly. And where we used to be down on our back for a couple of weeks, now you get up and the next wave's hitting you in the face the next day, and you don't even have time to think about what you just cleared. But I mean, are you seeing these types of dynamics this year, or anything that you are seeing that you might could add?
Well, first of all, the whole thing with the virus, with people staying home, it's all part and parcel of the awakening. So it's okay, right? Yes. How is it hitting people? It depends where they're at in their awakening. Most people are going to approach this and look at it as, damn, life is kind of hard this year, right? As opposed to the ones that are going to be like, my God, my emotions are amplified fivefold. Like, the world is sad. The world is this. I think it's going to take those ones that really are empathic and wake them up, because they're going to feel it more intensely. The rest of the world is going to be like, oh, well, we just got to get through this, some logical thing, which is fine. You know what I mean? That's good. I mean, it's going to ramp up a lot of innovation and a lot of cooperation. People are going to be disillusioned to see their life's work kind of go down, because if they don't have a job, they're going to lose some things. So there's a loss and a grief that goes with that. But also there's a renewal. In order for you to get beyond your thinking, you've got to lose that, how are you going to survive this? Like my family and I were talking last weekend. They're like, the deaths from suicide, the deaths from people feeling desperate might go up. And I'm like, is that going to happen? I'm like, yeah, for those people who don't really flow with this change and allow this to happen for them, not to them, it's going to be hard. So for me personally, I've kind of taken, because it's almost like you have a heads up, 10, 12, 13 years of an awareness, and I know how to clear it. It could be hard, but I know how to clear it. It could be hard, but it's almost like I'm watching it. I'm not in it. I'm watching it. And that's a skill, but it's also because vibrationally, I'm not vibrating there anymore.
Yes.
So it's not hitting me the same way. So it's going to take the people that are in pain, and they're going to have to make a priority to change and welcome and allow and flow. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It already is. Is it an impossible thing to do? No. You just have to let go of control.
Yeah.
And allow your body to relax. Like,
a lot of people that have come on this show, and otherwise, that have gone through an awakening experience, ing is the operative, you know,
Mhm.
because it's not over. But they have different. I mean, some people are very organic, you know, earthy,
Right, right.
elementals, animals, people. Other people could be galactic, could be angelic, could be some other divine episodes or light beings or just different faces of the universe, different energy forms or, you know, pictures or images. Well, does any that was there anything that brought you to the party besides this whole self introspection and the things that were played out in front of you? Uh, did you have any type of and of course there's no wrong answer, but I mean, did you have any type of uh,
Of out there experiences.
yeah,
Out there
exactly,
experiences.
yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of it. Um, it's funny because I've, you know, you like to keep yourself safe. I guess that's would be what my thing is. But I have had a lot of, I don't know how to put it exactly, of you know, dream time experiences for sure, semi awake experiences for sure, galactic, yeah. Like,
yeah,
yeah. But it's so, you know, unless you go through it, I really couldn't even believe it was happening to me.
hmm,
And I'm used to my body vibrating and feeling the energy going through and moving. The kundalini has definitely raised, which brings another set of dynamics that I dealt with. But I had this one experience, and you know, you're always so wowed when you never when it's new for you, every single thing, and then you want more, and then, you know, where are you going? I'm like, no, I have to live a. I'm creating on a 3D level, fourth, fifth dimensional level. You can get really like my days, and I was so into my dream journal and my this and my that. I had the opportunity to be that way. So one of the experiences was dream time, but semi awake dream time. I'm meeting another healer, right? She's short dark hair, and she wants to meet me, and I'm fine. I'm talking to her and I'm communicating, but I'm thinking to myself as I'm dreaming, she's strange. She's very strange. I don't understand what she's talking about. And you know how you have those dreams, and all of a sudden the dream turned. I was in a different place. She was in a different place. And she had her head away from me. And then she turned towards me. And all I know is that there was brown, and there was like everything was lighting up in front of her. Like she was breaking apart and this light was coming at me. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, please, this is not good. Like, I didn't know what that was. Um, and I woke up, my whole body is going like this. I'm like, how could I not feel the impact of that? Um, and then I'm like Googling, and I'm looking, and I'm like, gosh, that was an Arcturian. And she was
wow,
showing me the light within her and sharing that with me. But, you know, for me, I was just totally in disbelief. I had no idea what was going on. Um,
how did like for instance, how did you just know intuitively it was an Arcturian?
I had to look that up. I
Oh,
knew it was something so far out there that I couldn't avoid it. I
hmm,
couldn't I couldn't not remember it because it was that vivid for me. Um, but that was cool. That was
yeah,
cool. And a lot of times, you know, it's not like I have these all the time. These have been along the way. There have been um, a connection to something that is more spiritual. Like I can sit in my room and I'll see colors. Okay, what's there? I see frames with beautiful colorings behind them and a person behind that. What is that? How do you explain that? um, it's all part of when you raise your vibration and you're able to connect with spirit. You can call it God, you can call it masters, you can call it the Arcturians, you can call it, you are connecting with different vibrations. You can feel them, sometimes you can see them, um, and they're here to help
yeah,
in their way. Developing that communication that you trust and that you understand is probably the hardest thing. Um, and I'm still in process with a lot of
Yeah.
that, because at one point, like the first year I had my business, second year, I did an annual program, and here I am. I'm like, yeah, we're going to learn these things, and then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to throw in a once a month healing circle for us, and just for fun. Here is me, just for fun. We're just going to have fun today. And they trusted me to do this, and I trusted myself. But you know what? It was just me playing. I'm like, oh, what could go wrong? What's the big deal, right? I let that happen. Do you have any idea, like the results? People had results. Then I started to get, so here you are, a little kid having fun. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, this is actually working. What is actually happening? And as I was doing these healings in a group, I would like hear one side of me say, "What are you doing?" And the other side would say, "Shut up." Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's allowing and trusting and feeling like there's a logical side to me that wants this explained.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just, I'm a responsible, I can't just, but I could just do that. So
Yes.
there are hidden gifts that most empaths have in their capacity to hold space and
Mm-hmm.
help others. And it's coming to terms with what that is for you, and then bringing it into the world in a way that the world can embrace. I
Yeah.
mean, so
No, yeah, it's a struggle. I mean, and I think, of all the things that you know, the complexity of everything that you're talking about, what you've experienced and what everybody watching and that comes on the show, uh, it's it can get a little complicated. Uh, there's a lot of things that we have to contend with, but to me, one of the, if not the biggest thing, is just getting used to it. It's like, because you don't have to know, you don't have to. The logic,
yeah.
it's like what you said. The other voice said, "Shut up." It's like the voice that listened is now the voice that tells, and the voice that was speaking all the time now needs to shut up and listen or just observe or whatever. But yeah, it's like that. It's a new way. Well, it's a new way of living, but it goes beyond um, anything we can compare it to. Like the telepathy. The empathic part of it. The sitting in the room and seeing colors and frames, meeting an Arcturian in your dreams. I mean, the only thing that I think is really starting to help us is we have groups like this where all the crazy people are now, so you don't feel so bad, you know,
Well,
because
we're not crazy. We're not crazy. We're
no,
awakening. We're validating. We're acknowledging. We're supporting
mm,
what it could be. And the thing is, as a human, it's a little scary when someone brings that prospect to you, because, geez, what did you just do to my life? What did
mm,
you just, what are you trying to insert? I want my normal life. How many empaths just want to behave and feel normal when they're feeling more? One girl that was a client of mine, she was such a physical empath that, how much of this is her mind, how much of this is a mental disorder, how much of this is, you can come up with all kinds. There's a spiritual component to
mm,
this.
mhm.
She's able to do this, and now as a human she needs to be able to bridge and learn from others that are on that path, that have done it. And some of this is not easy to unscramble, if you want to say it. Like, we definitely gave ourselves some really pretty intense missions.
Yes.
um, so
And on that note, with whether it be from any of these connections that you've experiences you've had or otherwise, what do you feel your mission is? Or I should say missions. I don't know if anyone's just got one mission, uh, other than just finding, the self-realization, the self-empowerment,
yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah, no, my mission is to bring the concept of subtle energy, connection, that whole language of what's happening, in a way that people can say, gosh darn, this is me. There's nothing wrong with me. All these years, depression, anxiety, there's a spiritual component to it. There's a subtle energy component to it.
Mm,
Let me look at that. Let me activate and change the way I interact with myself,
mhm.
and step into this journey because it's not so scary. It's not so all consuming. It's something that I can be proactive on as opposed to being behind the eight ball, and doing that. Like, one of my clients now, his wife died. That's what prompted him to move into this. To all his life, he's been an empath, but he'd never heard of the word empath.
Mm-hmm.
All his life, he had different struggles in his family, with his family of origin, whether it's alcoholism or abuse. He had all that. And now, in his 50s, he doesn't want it. He feels so heavy. He would have days where he couldn't get off the couch. And now with his wife on the other side, he's very much interested in the healing part and in connecting with her. So it gives him that. So it's about bringing that knowledge with others in a way that, to whatever degree people are ready for, they can absorb and use.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Turning that empath, the attributes, blessings are burdens and burdens are blessings. I mean, I wasn't familiar with the empath term
Right.
until about 2013 when I started getting, when I became more active on social media. And, uh, and I would always say I'm not an empath, but then as you learn more, I go back and realize I was the whole time, I mean, these people are talking about my life here. And how many times do you see that, people will put up a post and they'll say, oh my God, you're like taking the words right out of my mouth,
Absolutely.
but now it seems like that, and Morgan has said this over the last few months, that the empaths are now have converted or transformed or maybe changed perspective or whatever, raised frequency, and it's becoming a powerful aspect in really not just the individual's journeys, but the collective, because there's a lot of empaths.
Well, that's what we came here to do. We came here to support humanity by bringing a light in different places. But the first project is to brighten and awaken our own light
Yeah.
enough that we're not saddled with what's around us. So it's really, I'm trying to awaken the empaths even more than they are. And here's a road, and here are some other things. So Expansion to Joy is an event that, geez, 2-3 years ago came into my awareness, the name of it also. And I was like, well, what? I'm like, no, I'm not doing that yet. Like, but Expansion to Joy is talking to the woman who is an empath and doesn't know she really is, because you'll know you are, because you love certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You love the ocean. You love giving. You love seeing the best, you love. And that person that is that way also will struggle because of what's around them, and not having that awareness of how they're interacting with the space and within themselves. So a lot of empaths don't even know who they are, really, because they're so used to being doing everything, being involved. And one of the things that when I was first 12 years ago, 13 years ago, that I noticed was that I really could not have the TV on, me on the phone, and someone talking at the same time. Like, something like the noise level around me became an issue. And we would be in the car, and I'd be like, if my husband started, turn the radio down, turn it off, because I can't manage this very well. That was like a big thing.
Yeah. Morgan's like that. If there's, she only see one thing at a time, that's it. Only entertain one thing at a time. And I think that, go ahead.
Well, and the other thing is too, and I haven't found the exact answer to this, is because as you advance and as you grow, the energy becomes even more subtle. It's not taking everything in where everything comes in so deeply into you. But, I've noticed certain things that I'm attracted to watching or listening to or whatnot, they can easily come into my body because I'm so porous.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, get out. Like, so in it, the natural tendency, what do I watch? Some of the things I watch are dramas or action, and some of the things, in today's news or movies are not, somehow they're interesting me, but they're staying with me. They're like invasive.
Mm.
in that way. So it's also recognizing that. And I have to still see how I'm going to handle all that. Like I know how to remove it, but so there's an entertainment piece that I like, but then there is an absorbing piece
Yeah.
that you've got to be really cognizant about. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
part of it.
We process, at times we'll process by watching a, Outlander series or a movie. And now and then, I'll get a little bit agitated and I'll be like, oh, I can't believe that someone needs to kill that guy. And Morgan will say, it's just a movie, or she'll even say, I started getting caught up and I have to remind myself it's just a movie. Yeah. So, I mean, being able to maintain our field and regulate it, it's not as complicated as we might think it is. It's when we command this thing, we're the programmers. And I think people are starting to get a handle of it. I think I actually
Well,
feel
there's lots of different modalities out there, which
true.
I think it's amazing. It gives us a choice. But at
Yes,
the end of the day, we're going to do what works for us.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we were just talking about that last night. She says it's like a buffet. You have a big buffet out there and people gravitate to what tastes good to them. She said last night, if we all had just one food on the whole earth, we'd all go crazy. So yeah, there's a lot of people stepping up now, like yourself, particularly women that have been on this journey for a long time, and we need that energy. We need that feminine energy. We all know that. So let me ask you this before we head out the door. I wanted to ask you
Sure.
about how your husband was going through this whole thing. I bet that was but that's another show.
It's a whole
But
other show.
what advice would you give to anyone watching now that's just waking up? Because the people are tuning into this show on YouTube and Facebook that are just coming to the party.
I would say to acknowledge your feelings,
Mm.
release them either by writing, by meditating, put some things in your day to day,
Mm.
that support your brain quieting down. Like,
Yeah.
don't make your life blah, 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 so crazy that it's too much. Like, at the end of the day, and I did a webinar on this too, you have to love your life. You have to know when this has gone so far that you're not in love with your life anymore. It's gone. There's a gauging over and a priority over how you feel. And even if it's just focusing on a flower, focusing by the ocean, or take a picture or listen to something that's uplifting, because music is amazing, right? If you don't feed that inner connection, you're going to feel disconnected. And if you feel empty, or you feel raw, or if you feel angry, you've got to be able to find a way to release it. So the most quickest way is to write it down, speak it out, get it out, and tune into what the feeling is, and then what do you want the feeling to be? Like, how is it that what's going to soothe you?